I want you to start by doing something with me.
Just a small physical action.
Yeah, just something physical, but it's going to tell us a lot about exactly where your head is at right now.
Right at this moment.
So I want you to imagine a hand, your hand, and I want you to picture it tightly clenched.
And not in anger.
No, not aim.
And not even in defense.
Right, but in effort. Like, picture the fingers pressing inward. The knuckles are turning white. The tendons in your wrists are they're taut, vibrating with that strain. You are holding on to something.
It is the weight of a plan that must succeed at all costs.
Yeah.
Or a relationship you are terrified will change if you look away for even a second.
Or maybe, it's simply a version of yourself.
The competent you.
Exactly, the person who has it all together. And you feel like you have to maintain that grip every single moment.
It feels like strength, doesn't it?
It really does, that tension.
The vibration.
We're taught from a very young age that holding on tight is, well, it's how we show we care. It's how we stay safe. The logic is so simple. If I let go, even for a second, gravity takes over and everything just falls apart.
But look at the hand. I mean, really look at it in your mind. In that act of holding on so tightly, the hand is completely closed.
It can't receive anything.
No, it cannot receive anything new. It cannot even feel the temperature of the air. It is functionally cut off from the space around it.
It's a closed system.
Yes, a completely closed system.
And now I want you to imagine that same hand slowly opening.
You aren't dropping anything.
No, you aren't throwing anything away in defeat.
Yeah.
You are just uncurling the fingers, like a leaf unfolding after a hard frost.
The palm softens. The blood flows back into the knuckles. It becomes empty.
Empty.
And in that emptiness, it becomes receptive. This is the first paradox we need to sit with today. We mistake tension for power.
We really do.
But only when we stop holding can we truly hold anything at all.
That is the exact space we want to inhabit for this deep dive. Usually, we are here to break down complex data or navigate all the noise of the modern world.
The external noise.
Right. But today, the mission is different. We are doing something much slower. We are looking at the noise inside. We're going to explore a completely different way of operating in the world.
The mechanics of undoing.
The mechanics of undoing. Because we're exploring this idea that our modern obsession with control, with gripping the wheel until our hands literally cramp, is actually the very thing making us crash.
It is not about giving up. That is the common trap.
People think letting go means giving up.
They do, but it is not giving up. It is waking up.
So I want to start with the concept that I found honestly a little shocking when I first came across it. It's an old Zen teaching, and on the surface, it sounds incredibly violent.
If you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him.
Yeah, kill him. Now, for a philosophy based entirely on compassion and nonviolence, that just seems aggressive.
It sounds like heresy.
Right.
If I'm looking for peace, why am I killing the ultimate symbol of peace?
It is meant to startle you.
It works.
It is a splash of cold water on the face of the sleeping mind. It isn't about actual violence, of course. It is a warning about concepts.
Concepts, like our ideas of things.
Yes. The human mind is a relentless categorization machine. We have this profound tendency to turn everything into a fixed idea. We create a Buddha in our mind.
We put them in a box.
We create a rigid idea of what enlightenment looks like, or what success looks like, or what a good parent looks like.
We read a script for it.
Exactly. And the moment you cling to that script, the moment you say, peace must look exactly like this quiet room with a candle and absolutely no noise, you've built a cage.
Because if a car honks outside,
your peace is destroyed.
Wow. So if I'm striving to be perfectly calm, I'm actually at war with my own reality.
Precisely. You are fighting your own restlessness. You are still holding the fist. You are just holding a different object.
I'm holding spiritual perfection instead of career success.
But the tension is exactly the same. Killing the Buddha means destroying the idealized image so you can finally experience the raw reality.
It reminds me of cognitive rigidity in psychology. When we hold a model of the world too tightly and reality doesn't match it, we break, we panic.
That is where the trees come in, the oak and the bamboo.
Walk us through that, because culturally, we all want to be the oak. We want to be solid. We want to be the person who just doesn't flinch.
Consider the oak. It is massive. It looks invincible. It stands completely rigid against the wind. It says, I will not move. I am the master of this space.
It matches our entire cultural definition of strength, unyielding.
But in a hurricane,
the oak breaks.
It breaks because it fights the wind. The rigidity makes it brittle. It snaps because it cannot accommodate the sudden change in the atmosphere.
And the bamboo?
The bamboo bends. It yields. It will touch the ground if it has to. It looks so humble, but it does not break.
It survives.
Its strength is not in resistance. Its strength is in responsiveness. It is entirely willing to be shaped by the wind without ever losing its root.
That's a hard shift to make, isn't it? Especially in a high-stakes job or, a really chaotic family life. We are so conditioned to be oaks. We think that if we yield, we're just weak.
We fear the bending.
But you're saying that real strength, anti-fragility, is the ability to work with reality rather than arguing against it all the time.
We must ask ourselves in those moments, how tightly are we gripping our plans? Can we rest in uncertainty? Can we meet disappointment not as an enemy, but as data?
As data.
As a teacher wearing a mask we didn't expect.
That brings up this image of the cup.
Mhm.
There's a classic story here about a young student, a monk, who is just incredibly frustrated.
He is doing everything right.
Yeah, he's reading the texts, he's doing the meditations, but he feels completely stuck. His mind is just racing.
He goes to the master to ask for wisdom. He wants the final answer. And the master simply begins to pour him a cup of tea.
And the cup fills up, but he keeps pouring.
The tea rises to the rim. It spills over. It runs onto the table, soaking into the master's robes, dripping onto the floor.
And the student finally just shouts, "Stop! The cup is full. It can't hold anymore."
And the master looks at him and says, exactly.
Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions.
You're full of your own speculations. How can I show you wisdom unless you first empty your cup?
That hits on something so deep about how we approach self-improvement today. We're always trying to add things.
All knowledge.
More strategies, more life hacks, more podcasts. We treat wisdom like it's a collection of trophies. But this suggests the problem isn't a lack of something. It's that we just have too much.
We are cluttered.
Yeah.
We are clutching old judgment, the desperate need to be right, the constant replay of yesterday's arguments in the shower. Letting go isn't a passive resignation.
It's an active making of space.
It is noticing what you are clutching and consciously softening the grip.
So wholeness isn't something we go out and gather. It's not about getting the degree and the job and the house and then poof, I'm finally complete.
No. Wholeness is what remains when we stop subtracting from ourselves through all this doubt and striving. It is the ground beneath your feet.
It was always there.
We just covered it with heavy furniture.
I want to move this into the everyday for a second, because it's so easy to talk about monks and bamboo and overflowing tea. But what about Tuesday morning? When the inbox is a disaster and the coffee is already cold?
Let us call this the koan of the unspilled cup.
I love that. So, picture a scenario that's in every kitchen in the world. A man is washing a coffee cup. The water is running warm over his hands, the soap is bubbling up, the morning light is hitting the ceramic.
The cup is getting clean.
But the man isn't there.
No, he is in an email he hasn't even sent yet.
He is in an argument from 3 days ago.
He is worrying about a meeting that will not happen for another 4 hours.
So, biologically, physically, he is standing right there at the sink. But neurologically, he's hallucinating problems that aren't actually happening.
It is a ghost life. Master Dugan wrote something incredibly profound about this exact state. He said, "To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by the 10,000 things."
Actualized by the 10,000 things. It sounds beautiful, but let's decode that. What does that actually feel like?
It means that when you stop centering your own narrative, when you stop thinking endlessly about your problems, your specific timeline, your personal boredom, the boundary between you and the world simply dissolves.
You merge with the room.
The kettle singing becomes a symphony. The rain tapping on the window becomes a rhythm you are part of. The world becomes intensely alive because you are finally there to witness it.
So presence isn't a state you achieve after 20 years meditating in a cave. It's just coming back to the sink.
It is the solid ground you stand on when you finally stop running. Let's look at a very modern version of this. A woman on a subway.
Okay, set the scene. She's sitting there. It's crowded. The air is stale.
And her phone buzzes.
The universal trigger. That little hit of dopamine. Someone needs me.
She feels the tug. It is almost biological at this point. I must check, I must fix, I must respond.
That is the clenched fist.
That is the reactive mind holding on. But this time she doesn't.
She just lets the notification sit there.
She lets it sit. And in that pause, in that quiet refusal to be hijacked, something opens up. She hears the low hum of the wheels on the track. She feels the gentle sway of the carriage. She looks up and actually sees the person sitting opposite her.
And they aren't just scenery anymore.
No, they're another human being. Tired, perhaps, hopeful, riding this exact same fragile vessel through time, In that single moment of not checking the phone, the world became real again.
It's an act of rebellion. In an attention economy where literally everyone is fighting to monetize your eyeballs, choosing to just be exactly where you are feels radical.
It is deeply radical. The voice in our head, which is usually driven by a low-grade anxiety, says, I will be happy when I get there.
Or this moment is just an obstacle to the next moment.
That voice is a thief. It steals the now by constantly promising a better later. But the later never actually comes.
Because when you get there, it's just another now.
It has always been placed by another later.
So the only time we actually ever have is, well, now.
Now. The feeling of the dish soap, the subway sway, the rise and fall of breathing.
But let's be honest for a second, it's hard. It's really uncomfortable because when we stop distracting ourselves, we have to feel things we might really not want to feel. Boredom, anxiety, sadness.
If you do not look at the phone, you have to sit with your own mind.
Yes. Presence demands vulnerability, and I think that's why we resist it so much. We prefer the illusion of control that our screens give us.
But true strength is not found in avoiding the discomfort. It is found in the quiet courage to simply be with it.
That brings us to a twist on a really classic riddle. Everyone knows the old question, what is the sound of one hand clapping?
A question specifically meant to break the logical, grasping mind. But let us ask the modern version. What is the sound of a notification going unanswered?
At first, it sounds like absolute panic.
Yes, anxiety flares up. What am I missing? Who is mad at me?
The fear of missing out.
But if you stay with it, if you just breathe through that initial spike, what comes next?
Silence. And then maybe freedom.
Exactly. The sudden freedom of realizing the world did not end because you didn't react. You realize you are not the servant of the device.
It's about turning these everyday distractions or even immense frustrations into portals.
Portals. We usually think of a traffic jam or crying child at 3 in the morning or a sink full of dirty dishes as obstacles.
Things blocking us from our real life, the life we planned.
But this perspective completely flips that script.
How so?
Imagine the parent with that crying child. It is 3 a.m. They are bone tired. The mind says, I need sleep. This is awful. I have to fix this right now.
That is the resistance. That is the oak tree fighting the hurricane.
Because you cannot force a baby to sleep. The more you fight the reality of the moment, the more stressed and rigid everyone gets.
So what happens if the parent stops wishing the moment away? What if they just lean into it?
They feel the actual physical weight of the child in their arms. They hear the ragged breathing. They surrender entirely to the raw, messy reality of
They
it.
stop fighting the 3 a.m.
And in that profound surrender, they touch a kind of love that has absolutely nothing to do with convenience. It is purely about presence. The obstacle became the path.
The crying child wasn't blocking the love. The crying child was the opportunity for the love.
So instead of constantly asking, how can I fix this?
Can I be with this?
Not to change it, not even to understand it, just to be with it. Like the sky holds a heavy storm, the sky does not resent the thunder, it just holds it.
That brings a real sense of vastness to it. We aren't these tiny, frantic problem solvers trapped in a maze. We are the space in which the problems happen.
Now you are touching the much deeper nature of this wisdom.
Let's stay there. Let's go to that depth. There's a metaphor about the dawn, that very specific moment just before the sun comes up.
The suspended silence. It is neither dark nor bright yet. In that spaciousness, we can understand that true strength is not about accumulation. It is about subtraction.
Subtraction.
We spend our entire lives building a reputation, building a career, building a complex self-image. We bolt heavy chairs to the floor of our minds so everything stays exactly in place.
To feel secure.
But an empty room has potential. A dance can happen there. A prayer can happen there. It has breath.
So letting go is unbolting the chairs.
It is remembering what you were before you added all the requirements. Think of the ocean and the wave.
Okay, that's a classic analogy, but let's really break it down so it doesn't just sound like a bumper sticker.
A wave rises up from the water. It looks separate. It has a distinct shape. It has a height.
Wow.
And if that wave had a consciousness, it might be terrified.
It would think, I am going to crash. I am going to disappear. I need to be a bigger wave than the one next to me.
It believes it is an individual entity fighting for survival. It fears death when it inevitably hits the shore.
But the ocean knows the truth.
The ocean knows the wave was always water. It was never truly separate for a single second. Its form changes, yes. But its essence, the water, remains perfectly intact.
And we are the waves.
We are the waves. Our daily struggles, our names, our careers, these are just the temporary forms. But beneath all that, we are the ocean. Letting go isn't the wave dying. It is the waves simply remembering it is water.
That is a massive relief, actually. It means I don't have to become strong. I don't have to go out and build strength from scratch. I just have to remember that I'm already part of something that is strong.
You do not need to transcend your humanity to find peace. You only need to inhabit it, fully, tenderly, and without apology.
It sounds so lofty, though.
Yeah.
Be the ocean. But then we have to come back down to the wood and the water. There's that famous saying.
Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
I've always loved that because it's just so anticlimactic. You do all this deep spiritual work, you have this massive realization of being the ocean, and then you still have to do the chores.
You still have to pay the heating bill. You still have to fold the laundry. The task itself has not changed at all.
So what has changed?
The presence has changed. The internal friction is completely gone. Before, you deeply resent the heavy weight of the wood. You're rushing to finish so you can get to the important stuff.
But later.
Yes. But after you feel the rough grain of the wood, you notice the biting temperature of the water. The physical activity is exactly the same, but the desperate struggle is gone.
And this is exactly where we have to be careful, right?
Huh?
Because I can so easily see myself turning this whole conversation into another to-do list item. Like, okay, today's goal, let go perfectly. Be the ocean, don't be a stressed out wave. I can see myself grading my own performance on mindfulness.
And there's the clenched fist again.
Exactly. I'm gripping the concept of letting go. I'm turning relaxation into a competitive sport.
You cannot force the hand open. The moment you make letting go a rigid goal, you are striving all over again. The path is not a destination. It is the walking itself. It is found in the space between the words.
The space between the words.
It is the pause after a question is asked. It is the slow breath before you decide how to respond. It is the deep stillness that is already here, resting right underneath the noise of this very conversation.
We don't need to manufacture the stillness.
No, we just need to listen to it.
It feels like we are arriving at a place where there just isn't much left to say.
That's a very good place to be.
We've talked about the clenched hand, the bamboo and the storm, the unspilled cup. But in the end, it really seems to come down to a very simple, quiet trust.
Trust that you are enough exactly as you are right now. Not because you finally achieved something, but simply because you exist. The cup is resting on the table. The breath rises and falls. Nothing is missing.
That the strength that doesn't need to shout.
It does not perform for anyone. It simply is. Like the earth holding your feet right now, you do not have to ask the earth to hold you. It just does.
I think we should leave everyone right there, in that space. But I do have one final question to leave hanging in the air. A little something to mull over in the silence.
A koan for the silence.
We spend so much of our lives trying to figure out how to let go. But what if you stopped trying to let go and simply allowed yourself to be held?